What is up, my veggies? My name is VTR, and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are going to be reviewing Smile. Now, this movie, going into it, took me a minute to go see it. It's been out for a while now, but I went and saw it about like a week ago or two. I don't remember how long. It was like a week or two ago, something like that. I think I went and saw it last week. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I was late to this movie. I wanted to see it, but like I just didn't get around to it for a while, and when I finally decided to watch it, it's been out for a while. My buddy has been was playing this movie up to be freaking amazing and everything. So I could say my expectations were pretty high because of that. From the trailers, I was just like, okay, interesting little horror film. But then my buddy, he kept amping up the hype for this movie, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's gonna be like a real dang good time. But before I get into what I actually think of the movie, let us get into our synopsis real quick. After witnessing a bizarre traumatic experience involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. As an overwhelming terror begins taking over her life, Rose must confront her troubling past in order to survive and escape her horrifying new reality. I feel like that's all I can say really without giving out any spoilers. First things first, I'm going to get the negatives out of the way first. Normally I start with positives, but the negatives I think is where I need to start with this movie. So obviously this is not an original concept. This movie does not have an original concept. If you want to think of some other movies that literally this feels like The Ring, It Follows, and it was one other movie. Truth or Dare all merged into one. Yes, it feels like those movies just compacted into one giant movie. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just because a movie has similar elements to another movie does not make it bad. But obviously that is something that definitely was noticeable to me. I do think the character acting is really good in this movie. I think that our main lead, she plays this role very well. I think that you feel for her. You gotta do it because she's pretty much in every scene, and she's got to carry the film. And I think she does a fantastic job. I love how I said I was going to start with the negatives. But the movie does a lot of good stuff. It does a lot of things well. There's not much to really hate about the movie. I don't think it's a fantastic, over-the-top, great film like I was going into expecting. Maybe that's one that's good. I had very high expectations, so it helped me have decent results. The movie, though, itself was interesting with the concept of this creature that you can't really escape. Unless you have to do something crazy, and there's no telling if it'll actually stop with you or anything like that. It's very much, that's where the It Follows influence comes in to me, because it definitely reminds me of that movie. And obviously you have this much time to live aspect is where the Ring influence comes in, and the Smile is where the Truth or Dare influence comes from. At least that's what it feels like to me. But I do think one thing I really do like the score of this movie, especially at the end of the movie in the final act. The score is really good. I think the movie's score is done tremendously. I think it's a really good horror soundtrack, and also not to mention also the cinematography. There's some great shots in this movie. I feel like the cinematography really. If you don't have any interest for this movie at all, the cinematography alone makes it a good theater experience. And personally, I don't think this is a must-watch on the big screen, but I think it does enhance the experience of this movie. That's seeing it on the big screen, being on the big screen with the nice sound quality and everything, and the very nice shots and everything. It's a really good thing to see this on the big screen. The effects is nothing it's not insane or anything, but there's some stuff the effects and the kills and stuff like that are really unsettling, even though when they're simple. I'm not the biggest fan of when it gets around the end, when it reveals stuff, and some CG is used. I'm not bashing CG. Obviously, I don't think there was any other way you could have done that without CG. But also, I'm not a big fan of the final look of that thing. That's really all. That's my negative gripes with the movie. But I do think it is a good movie. I think this movie definitely has a lot of enjoyable aspects to it. I think that the movie is done very well. I think this movie is just done to a very, very well degree. And there are some genuinely uncomfortable moments. So that's actually something that a lot of horror movies don't do for me. There are some genuinely uncomfortable moments and some good sound design here. And there are some jump scares, but they aren't like your false jump scares. They actually feel like they hold something. And there's some legit unsettling stuff in the character moments, like the character performances, and you feel for this character, and you understand one thing I don't like is her boyfriend character or her fiance kind of just off at midway point of the movie. I'm felt like they were gonna do something with that there, but it didn't really go anywhere. But also, the movie does play with your mind a lot, because you're okay, she's talking to this person right now, but then later that actor sitting right in front of that person calls, and she's like, what the heck is going on? The movie does definitely play with your expectations and makes you think you're in a false insecurity here, and then all of a sudden you find out what's standing in front of you isn't what you thought it was. And it's really effective in that regard of the scares and everything. I think that's where the movie really excels, is its subtlety in its premise, but also definitely with there's one scene where someone's in the movie, they're trying to cut their face, and they have this smile on their face the whole time, and it is very unsettling to watch. And I'm whoa, what the heck? I will say one thing though. This isn't about the movie. This is one of my most least enjoyable movie theater experiences. Not because of the movie, but because of the people. There were people that would not be quiet while I was watching this movie, and there was surprisingly a lot of people in the theater for the time I went and saw it, because it's been out for a while, and it was at 10 o'clock at night. So I was I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I was expecting not a lot of people to be there, but still, a lot of people were talking and would not be quiet. Part of me was just wanting to say, "Hey, be quiet," but obviously I didn't do that. But the movie was definitely something interesting. We look at the rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is got a 79% certified with fresh on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and then audiences give it a 78. Which I think makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's a good middle ground for this movie. Personally, for me, my rating for this movie, I'd probably be nice enough to it to give this movie a 4 out of 5. I think it's, I don't know actually, is it 4 out of 5? Yeah, I'll get... Yeah, I think 4 out of 5 is a good place to throw this movie, actually. I really did enjoy it. I don't think it's as crazy and over the top as a bunch of other things are, but I did enjoy the movie nonetheless. But what do you guys think of this movie? I think it's actually a really interesting look into this type of movie, because it's not a over the top slasher and anything like that. If you're looking for something like that, if you want to see that, go watch Halloween Ends. That's obviously not what you're getting here. You're not getting that with this movie. You're not getting that whatsoever with this film. But if that's what you want to see, like I said, go see Halloween Ends. It's playing. They're both playing at the same time, so go see that instead. But also, I would just say this is a recommendation. I think it is a good experience on the big screen. I don't think it's a must on the big screen, but I think it is definitely enhances the experience seeing this movie on the big screen. I think it is a fun horror movie that does a lot of interesting and unique things, but also with some familiarity because of some other movies out there. But I think the movie overall is a really interesting experience, and I think if you haven't seen it, you're going to have an interesting time with it. I'd love to know like the thought of people that don't actually like the movie. I'd love to hear that thought process. That's what I got to say for this review, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, you guys know the drill, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!